There we go. Hi, welcome everybody from Price Support Services of Charlotte. I am Ray Castillo, founder, CEO, and president.
I am Xavier, director of operations.
And we welcome you to this live stream. Normally today we would have our group session today. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances that we are facing together, that cannot be possible. However, we still wanted to be connected to you, so we decided to do this live stream and talk about what we normally would talk in session. So want to start with the elephant in the room, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to definitely kind of start up on the coronavirus issue and how we are doing as a community, right? I've talked to a lot of our friends out there and a lot of the people that normally we connect with, and it seems, Xavier, that people are still under a lot of fear. People are still feeling some kind of way, and it seems like the people still don't understand what's going on. What is your input on that?
It's definitely a stressful situation, Ray, and we have to in this time just stick to those things that make us feel comfortable and things that make us feel safe. It's really difficult to know what's going to happen, and I know that the uncertainty of the unknown is what makes people nervous and anxious. Yeah. But I'm sure that, as with everything else, we're going to pull through, and we're going to be okay. We just have to, follow the guidelines, follow the rules, and it'll be fine in a few weeks, hopefully.
Definitely. There's obviously, there's a lot of people that are pro news and against news, right? I stay right in between, but I still listen to the news. I still read the articles online. However, when I'm reading an article, I want to see where it's coming from. I want to see what it says. And my take on that is, I take the important information, the information that's coming from the government, the information that's coming from medical doctors that are all involved in this, and listen to what they have to say, right? The important thing that we always want to do is, recognize, and being in the mental health, is recognize those anxieties and fears, right, that we are facing. And again, I just want to make sure that we understand that, at times like this, when it's a situation, it's a worldwide pandemic situation, it is totally normal to have fear, to feel anxious about going out. I've gone out just to practically do some food shopping and some basic necessities, and I see it in the supermarket still. And I've seen a lot of Facebook postings of pictures of people having their buggies full of stuff, and some people have post a lot of negativity and a lot of things on that. I just want to say, please be understanding, and yes, in a sense, it may get us upset. In a sense, it makes us feel uncomfortable. I went and there was not even anything that I needed. But let's understand that, that every person out there reacts differently, right? And we want to be conscientious of that, and we want to be mindful that, there is a lot of uncertainty. People don't know this is, although the government is saying 2 weeks, it could be, now it's like maybe a month. We don't know what's going to happen. So the reality of things is to try to stay, calm and understanding, and not lose that at any given point.
Definitely. I just wanted to comment, we're live, people. So please let us know the music is too loud so I can tell Alexa to shut up. But going back to what Ray was saying, it's important, just remain calm, reach out to people that, can help if you feel anxious, or if, you feel that you need to talk about this whole situation.
Yes.
It is really important, and just talk about it. This is a good time for us in general to practice communication. Yes. We're so used to being in crowds and being out there having fun, but I think this is a good time for us to practice those communication skills via phone, via text message, and make sure we stay connected to the people that we know can help us and can be there for us.
Yes, and definitely, again, I wanted to cover some of the tips that we spoke in one of the videos that we presented, and from us to you guys. And this is not coming from us as experts. It's just information that has been out there on Facebook, on the news medias and stuff like that. For example, it is important to follow government guidelines, right? This is not the time to feel that, oh, well, I don't believe this person, I don't believe that person. I think it's important that we follow all government guidelines, right? We know that here in North Carolina, we are under shutdowns in so many different ways. Please, listen to what they have to say. It's really important that we follow all the guidelines that are there, right? And Xavier, cover the other one.
Oh, well, like I said, just remain calm, avoid public spaces. Right now, me and Ray were actually talking about it a few minutes ago. The virus is spread through droplets. Yes. So a person that coughs or sneezes that has active symptoms, according to the World Health Organization and the CDC, are the people who are most infectious. Doesn't mean that a person that does not have active symptoms cannot spread it. The answer to that from the CDC and the World Health Organization is that we don't know. They don't think that is how it is spread. They believe that it's just spread through people who are actively presenting symptoms, and that's why they're telling us to stay, at a safe distance from others. So if you have not presented any symptoms, you are okay. Just make sure you stay that way.
Definitely, right. And I know that, this couldn't have come in one of the worst moments because we're here in North Carolina. We know that we deal with a lot of pollen because of spring setting in. And I am personally, spring is not my thing. I do suffer from a lot of allergies during the spring season. So, what I try to do is do what I normally do in spring, just take my medication every day, try to help me, because I know that if I sneeze or if I cough or anything in front of other people, they freak out, they're scared, and I get that. So, again, staying mindful of those things is important. Another thing that we talked about was reaching out to family members, friends and family members, just to let them know that you are safe. And also to hear out from them, right? Yes, we need to stay indoors. Yes, we need to stay at home. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop staying in touch with our loved ones or the people that we care for. Mm-hmm. Really important to stay in touch with people. Let them know that you are okay.
Reach out to us. Pride Support Services of Charlotte is here for you. We have actually a post that we did maybe yesterday or the day before, where you can go reference our numbers on our Facebook page. There is our info at pridesupportservices.org. You can shoot us an email. You can shoot us a text message to those numbers that are available there. And we're here for you, even if it's just to talk. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything specific. If you just need someone to talk to, we're here for you.
Yes, that is correct. So with all that said, we wanted to jump into what we normally, like I said, would have done in group. Today was Q&A, was anonymous Q&A, and we wanted to take some of the questions that we received. Thank you, everybody, for sending us some anonymous questions. We appreciate that you're staying connected and you're being honest about what really you want to know, right? Some of these questions were, I think all of them were really good questions. Some of them particularly stood out to me because it's important on what we discuss in our sessions and what we talk about and what we're about. So again, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that, a lot of this information comes from online sources and also from our personal and professional experience as therapists, out there and talking to people, what we hear from people and so forth and so on. So we just wanted to make sure that you understand that, okay? But let's start in the first question that we got, Xavier, which says, from a psychological perspective, what do you guys think about age gay gap?
That's an interesting question, actually.
It is.
in this question, I think it's a question that most of us have. I think as we're out there in our community, we do notice that there are a lot of couples who have an age gap, and I think that's a very open question. I think that is open to what your opinion is on age gap. No one's relationship is the same.
That's
Everybody's
correct.
relationship is completely different. And I think we need to really look into, how do you feel in your relationship? What is it about your relationship that is good? What is it about your relationship that keeps you there? And age gaps are not a big deal. You're as old as you feel. And if your partner is younger or if your partner is older, it's okay. As long as you understand and love each other, I think that's really one of the most important things. Obviously, in age gaps, there's a generational difference that comes with that, in terms of points of view, worldviews, music tastes. But I think that part of a healthy relationship is being able to communicate those things to your partner and being able to kind of bridge that gap and kind of see what your compromises are. There are things that you are not going to compromise on, and so is your partner, and that's okay. But focus more on what are the things that you are willing to compromise on, and compromise on them, and come up with solutions to the problems that age difference can bring.
That's correct. And like you were saying, this is a matter of opinion. Everyone's opinion and perspective is different. So, don't go based on what everybody else is saying. No relationship is the same. My relationship with my partner is not the same relationship as Xavier and his partner or anybody else's, right? Although there's always similarities to that, but they're not the same, right? Everybody has different. Particularly, I happen to be one of those where there is an age gap between me and my partner. That has not been anything negative on us. It's, a lot of it has to do, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, but it's maturity, right? And how you're coming into the relationship. Now, there are articles out there that support age gap in gay relationships. However, I do, when I was reading into all of these things, Xavier, we're talking about, there's legal standards in each country, such as, here in the United States, 18 and over, right? And we want to make sure that we put that out there, right? We're talking about these kind of age gaps and whatnot, is we're talking about people that are considered legally adults, right? 18 and over. So I just want to make sure that we understand that out there, right? But one of the things that I want to say when it comes to that is keeping your feet on the ground always, right? And understanding that with the age gap differences comes a lot of issues, such as one is maturity and developmental age stages in age, right? When you are with, whether you are the older person in the relationship or the younger person in the relationship, you both need to consider the level of maturity in between both of you. It's different, right? Could be different. So you have to understand, that's one of the things that you have to understand. And what you were saying about compromising, right, is being able to compromise both, right? Both ways, right? You as the younger person compromise, understanding that your partner perhaps most likely is not going to see things the same way that you see it. Therefore, you're going to have to compromise, right? And I've heard this in sessions that I have had with some, people in the same situation where, for example, they may feel that, well, my partner doesn't want to go out as often. He always wants to be at home. I'm just giving some examples. And that's one of the things that you want to consider, right? That when you are coming into a relationship like that, you have to you have to understand that your partner may not be at the same level as you are, right? So coming into that agreement, again, about insecurities.
We all have insecurities.
Yes.
I don't think there's a person alive that doesn't feel insecure about something. But again, communication is key. If you are not able to assertively and openly communicate these insecurities with your partner, then you cannot expect your partner to understand them and help you through them, or even understand what those insecurities are about. So make sure you're very, communicative. Make sure you talk these things. It's not wrong to communicate you feeling insecure about something, whether you're the younger person or the older person. There are going to be situations where you are going to feel uncomfortable and insecure. We all do. What it's important is that your partner understands that these are insecurities that you have, or that you understand what are the insecurities of your partner, and be able to just, avoid the situation, or if it's a situation you can avoid, understand that this is something that we can discuss at a later time, with our partners, and kind of come up with, again, a happy medium, and come up with a solution as to what can we do in order to make our partners feel less insecure and more comfortable.
And I like that. What you say, what can we do, right? It's not what can you do, or I can't do, right? It's what can we as a couple, two different distinct people with an X amount of ages between us can do to make this relationship work, right? That's going to be the key to success. What is it that both of us need to do so that we can both make this work, right? Obviously, there was an attraction. Obviously, there was something that got you together. So, let's work on that so that we can continue building on that, right? Another thing is, that when another thing to consider is facing the outside opinions from family, friends, and the community in general. And we were just talking about this before we started our live session, that this whole age gap thing has become so visible wherever you go nowadays. You go to the bars and you see couples that you can tell that there's an age difference, and that's just it have been mostly what's happening and trending right now. However, I've also seen reactions from people when they see them, they're like, and comments, about those things. So, can you stop them? Can you, what is it? And I always tell my clients, what is it that you can control? Can you control what people say or think about your relationship? No, you can't, right? But what you can control is how you deal with it together. How are you going to respond whenever someone asks you, are you guys in a relationship? But there's, or whatever that may look like, how you're going to respond to that is what you can control, right? And not let it affect you. When you're coming into a relationship where there's an age gap difference, you need to also talk about this with your partner. How are we going to confront my family? Let's just say that you're the younger one, right? And your family probably is not going to take it well. So what are we going to, how are we going to deal in family gatherings? How are we going to present that to them? How are we going to take it? How are we going to respond? When it comes to friends may, some friends are very cruel whenever they, respond back or tell you, but how are you going to respond? How are you and your couple, how are you going to work together through those things, right? And the community in general, which we know that although we seem to be a very open community, sometimes that's not the case. And how we are going to respond to that externally, right? And how we're going to deal with it with our partners, that's what really matters. And that's what really counts in all of this.
Yeah. The second part to that question, which was a very interesting question, is
Love it.
Is it because of daddy issues with the younger one, referring to the younger partner? And listen, I in my training as a clinical psychologist, Freud hit a lot of things on the head, with his theories of daddy issues and mommy issues. But one thing is, when you're emotionally involved with a person, and another different thing is what a fetish is, right?
That's right.
And we've all heard about the daddy fetish, and that might very well be for some people. But what is wrong with falling in love? Actually, falling in love with a person who is older than you are, or a person who is younger than you are. Why should we have? Who made it a thing that we had to fall in love with people within a close range of age from us? It's like no one. That's not a thing. You know, for years, people have been falling in love that are not that have a significant age gap, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I've seen that through the years. I think it's been more common and more accepted in the heterosexual community, for such as you see that the man is X amount of years older than the woman, right? Or sometimes vice versa, right? And that has been more accepted and more okay throughout the years. Now it seems like in our community, in the LGBTQA plus AI plus community, it's something that is, although it's not new, but it's more common these days, right? And I think that we're you know, how we deal it and how we talk about it, how we perceive it, and how we accept it is what's going to create an impact on that, right?
And of course, we mentioned it before, the maturity.
Yes.
Some people don't feel comfortable in their own age group because some people are more mature than others, and that's okay. You feel comfortable in an age group that is, you know, older than you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is your level of maturity.
Yes.
Now, does this mean that the older person is immature? No, not at all. It's usually the younger person has a higher level of maturity that is comparable to the older partner, and that's okay. You know, it's okay that your maturity level is there.
And I remember that, you know, whenever I was going through this question, I remember I went back to when I was a child, and you know, I had this issue, like, and I used to tell you, I got in trouble with my mother so many different times because as a child, I would always want to be with the adults in the adult conversation. And, you know, coming from a traditional Latino family, my parents would be like, you know, they would tell me to go away, that conversation was not appropriate for me. But there was something about me particularly that I liked and enjoyed conversation with adults, you know. And when we talk about, if we were to take this for a moment out of the relationship context and just put it into friendships, how many of us have friends that are older than us or younger than us? And, you know, how do we deal with those friendships, you know? And is there a difference? Like you said, Xavier, it's like falling in love, right? So it's almost that way where, you know, it's a relationship no matter what. Now it's an emotional relationship that is a little bit different than a friendship, but it's almost the same, right? So maturity has to do a lot with it. And I like that one that says, could there be a possible psychological disconnect, such as, you know, and this is what's talked about out there a lot, right? And I've heard this.
He didn't grow up with his daddy.
Yeah, yes, right. Oh, well, you know, there was a father figure missing in the home, so therefore he's attracted to older men because of that. And while I don't want to discount that from being possible, right? Because we do see this across, you know, our offices sometimes where we have to deal with this, and it's a very important subject to deal with. It may possibly be, but it's not. It is not what necessarily it is necessarily it, or it is. You know, so we want to make sure that we take time to really carefully examine that, right? You know, and if you're going through that stuff, and you know, not because we're in therapy, but a lot of times it's really healthy to go into therapy, right? And do a self-discovery of why is it, right, that you were attracted to an older or a younger person, and, you know, how you feel about it, right? And if you're a couple that are struggling with this situation, right, come to therapy. Go to a therapist, a couple's therapist, you know, to talk these things out. It's only going to benefit you. It's a guarantee. It's only going to benefit your relationship. It's not going to make it any worse.
Exactly. So, I mean, I can't stress enough, and I say it continuously, it is okay. We all have issues. We all have insecurities. We all have situations that we need to deal with. It's like I always say in therapy, we all have skeletons in the closet, and we deal with it in the best way we know how to. And with the coping skills that we learned, through our culture, through the way we were raised. It's at that point where you feel it's a problem that it really becomes a problem. That's the moment where you need to seek help. As long as it's not a problem to you, it should not be a problem to anyone else.
Yes.
So
good. Thank you, Xavier. So there's an article that I was reading online. It comes from the Gay Star News, and they were talking about, they actually did an interview to gay couples, that there was a big age gap between themselves. And there's this assumption that, they just don't work, right? Well, the thing is that none of the couples that spoke confirmed that viewpoint. In other words, none of them said that their relationship was not working, right? Do they have issues and do they have problems? Just like you said, absolutely. Who doesn't, right? Just like any regular couple. But the assumption of that's not going to work. And sometimes we hear exactly that from our friends, like, oh, that's not going to work. That's not, that is an assumption, right? And I know that sometimes it's in the best interest of our friends and family members, and when they tell us that that we should or should not do something. However, that's not really confirmed, right?
Yeah. And the article actually mentions what we spoke about in the beginning: open communication.
That's right.
Your partner doesn't know what he or she doesn't know. So it's very important to communicate. It's very important to sit down and have these conversations. It's very important to sit down and talk about what the elephant in the room is and compromise as to how we're going to fix it, how we are going to fix it together.
Yes, and the important thing, and just throwing a little message out there to all of my wonderful friends that maybe oppose this, or maybe have a friend that is trying to decide whether they should or should not go in a relationship with someone that's younger or older than them. Just calm down. I understand that you may have a certain way of thinking or a certain way that you feel, but the most important thing that you can do for your friend at this time is just be there for them, right? Support them and just understand them, right? We don't want our friends or anybody that we love and care for to suffer and go through a heartbreaking situation or anything like that. We don't want that, right? But also there's, we need to sometimes step back a little bit and just let them do what they need to do, right? And just be there to support them and hold their hand in the process, right? So just a little word of advice for all my friends out there.
Don't make assumptions, people.
Yes, very important.
I learned very early in my first job, actually, when I was 18, my boss said, every time you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
Exactly.
So don't assume, people. Ask questions, clarify, communicate, and make sure you always do it, from the best place possible. Yep.
So there's another question that came out, and I loved it. And, because it really resonates a lot with our community, right? And again, being a couples therapist intern, I have seen this a lot where people, and this is not only in gay relationships, this is also in heterosexual relationships. And so this is the question. I'm going to read the question, which was really, really good. It is, why do we tend to look for men that we think has any fixing? Is it our insecurities, or do we think it is easier? So first of all, when I saw this question, I wanted to kind of really understand what the fixing part means, because that can mean so many different things, right? But the way that I took it, I don't know, Xavier, you, but the way I take it is, it may be of a person that has some sort of issue, right? Yeah. So, how do we do, why do we tend to look for those things?
That's a good question. I mean, the first question you have to ask yourself is, are you really with this person because you want to fix them? And unfortunately, if the answer is yes, then maybe you're in the relationship for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Because we can't fix people. It is not our job to fix people. Even for us as therapists, and you may say, well, your job is to fix people. Not really. our job is not to fix people. We don't have magic wands, and we don't wave them and make people be different. We just help people deal with their situations and make light of something that might be negative in their life. And I think that's the approach that you have to have. We as therapists, we don't have the answer to everything in our own relationships. I always say I'm a therapist Monday through Friday from 9 to 6. And then after that, I'm Xavier. Mm-hmm. And I'm a normal human being who has issues, insecurities, gets upset, gets sad, cries, has a fit. You know, it's typical for us as human beings to express feelings in a variety of ways. So again, if the answer to the question is I'm with this person to fix him or her, if the answer to that question is yes, then maybe you should reevaluate why you're with that person to begin with.
However, right, there's this thing called attraction, right? We all are attracted to a specific type of person, or it could be a thing, or whatever it is, right? So every person's attracted to a certain individual, and it's important to find out what is it about them that attracts you. Mm-hmm. Why are you attracted? What attracts you to that person, right? It's an internal question that you need to kind of dig in a little deeper and see what is it about them that attracts you, right? Because it might not be a negative thing. It may be something like, but then what Xavier brought up is a really important point. Is it because you want to be the rescuer? Mm-hmm. So those are the things that you want to examine, right? Why are you attracted to those type of individuals, right? Is it insecurities? Well, everyone has them. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't, right? Everybody has insecurities in certain ways. Can insecurity be the reason or causes for your certain type of attractions? Maybe, but not necessarily all the time, right? So this is the key. The key is to focus on yourself first. This is what I want to tell you. Focus on yourself first, right? Ask yourself, where are you in the process, and where are you trying to go? Because that's what's gonna really impact and how you look at the individual, or how you look in our relationships and where you're trying to go. So focus on yourself. Ask yourself, where are you in the process and where are you trying to go? Mm-hmm. Important. Then another thing you want to do is prioritize things for yourself, right? And work on building yourself. Why is it important to build, on yourself? Why is it important to prioritize things for yourself? It's just, the common answer is you can help someone else unless you help yourself first. That's just the way it is, right? Definitely. So you want to kind of build yourself on whatever it is that is happening with you in order for you to be able to help somebody else or work on that relationship. And ask yourself, what is it that you want in a relationship, right? So what I'm saying is, if you find yourself in relationships where you're constantly looking at, or looking at someone that has some sort of issues over and over, then maybe perhaps just taking a step back and saying, okay, let me work on myself first, mm-hmm. right? Let me work on some of those insecurities. Let me work on some other things. Let me prioritize for myself. Let me, work in building myself. And then I'm going to ask myself this question, which is, what is it that I want in a relationship? What is it that I want from the person that I'm looking to be with?
Just piggybacking of what Ray said, it's just important. Self-analyzing and introspection is always the best thing to do. It's not, I always say, it's not that you attract a certain type of people, is that you possibly have not dealt yourself with something that kind of puts you in a specific type of situation. And that's what you really need to sit back and take a look and analyze. Why are you in this situation? And it's not a matter of putting blame mm-hmm. on yourself or putting blame on anyone else. It's just sometimes we get stuck between a rock and a hard place. And mm-hmm. it's at those times that you really need to just sit down and kind of, like Ray said, why am I here? Not only what you're doing wrong, but what can you do different? Right. And it's always concentrating on what can you do different. that'll kind of pull you out of that situation
Sure.
and put you in a better spot. And if you need help, reach out.
Yeah, because I mean, often you will hear these people saying, "I always end up with the let's just say losers, right? I always end up with the same person over and over, right?" So maybe again, I want to just continue repeating myself, but that's when you really have to step back and ask yourself the question of like, again, what am I doing? What is it that I want? You know, and perhaps giving yourself that opportunity for growth internally within yourself, so that you can then have in a better relationship or a better outlook on what is it that you truly want for yourself, right? So going next, this is gonna be, I'm gonna just leave this up to the expert here. Xavier can talk about the next question.
Well, the next question that we got says, "Hi guys, I would like to know more about PrEP. How does that work? How does it affect your body? Is it safe? And is it expensive? How can I pay for it? Thanks." So everyone who knows me knows that this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. So Ray, you got to stop me. So PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It is a medication that was developed. Well, it was originally developed to treat HIV. In 2010, they published a longitudinal study that tracked the lives of transsexual women or transgender women and gay men, MSM, men who have sex with men. They did a longitudinal study that followed people who were negative for HIV that were taking what was known back then, Truvada, and it tracked how if they were able to stay negative while taking the medication. And the answer to the question was yes. They were able to stay negative while taking Truvada. Truvada is, again, it's a medication that was originally developed to treat HIV. They found out that it worked for keeping people HIV negative if you take it on a daily basis. And I can go into the whole biology of how it works, which I myself honestly sometimes don't understand. But in rice and beans, basically we have a set of cells in our body called T cells who are responsible for our immune response to all sorts of viruses. There's a specific cell called the CD4 cell, which is one of the types of T cells. And basically our CD4 cells are our first responders when we are invaded by a virus or a bacteria. And what happens is when HIV gets into our bloodstream, our T cells, our CD4 cells specifically, attack the virus. And what happens is when they confront the virus goes inside the cell, binds to the genetic material of that cell, makes a copy of itself, goes out of the cell, jumps into the next one, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about HIV, we talk about copies. We talk about copies per milliliter of blood. Because basically in rice and beans, what HIV does is copies itself over and over and over again until it starts just eventually killing all of our CD4 cells. So basically this medication, which we have, the FDA has only approved currently in the United States 2 medications for PrEP, which are Truvada and Descovy. Descovy is the new kid on the block. It is the one that most doctors are using nowadays. And what it does is it hangs out inside of the T cells or the CD4 cells, and it just prevents the virus from replicating. So it's not that if you have sex with a person who is HIV positive, the virus will still make its way into your body. But what happens is once it gets inside of the cell and it can't replicate, it'll just die off. So that's basically PrEP in a nutshell. Side effects, when you go to your doctor's going to give you a laundry list of side effects. Obviously, every medication that you take, even ibuprofen or acetaminophen, always has side effects. The most common that I have seen since I've been working with PrEP, which has been for a little over 5 years now, is stomach ache. It is the most common. It starts basically the day after you start taking the medication. For some people, it resolves itself in 1 or 2 days. For other people, it takes a little longer. The most time I've seen a person with stomach upset due to the medication is 5 days, and then it just disappears. It's not. It can have a little nausea, a little stomach ache. And I just want to disclose I'm not a medical professional. I'm just talking from my experience working with PrEP. So it can cause a little nausea and a little stomach upset. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing that will cause you to like stay home because it's unbearable. But it's usually the most common side effects that we see in the clinic. There has been a lot lately about Truvada and a class action lawsuit that they're putting up against Gilead, who is a pharmaceutical company that created Truvada, and its impact on the kidneys. The lawsuit, from my understanding, is still ongoing. They have not been able to gather enough evidence to actually prove that all these people who had kidney issues were necessarily due to the Truvada, but Gilead responsibly, admitted to kind of maybe there's something with one of the two medications in Truvada that was causing some kidney dysfunction. So they developed Truvada. They developed Descovy, which is basically the same medication as the Truvada. One of the two medications in there, they went in there and they did their thing. Adjusted it, changed the molecule, did a longitudinal study, found out that it didn't impact the kidneys as much as Truvada did. And hence, there we are. And we have Descovy. But generally, I in order to self-disclose, I've been on PrEP for 2 years now. I started on Truvada, switched over to Descovy. I have not had any issues with any of the medications. When you are on PrEP, you will get tested every 3 months. And part of the requirements to be on PrEP is that you're going to see your medical provider every 3 months. And when you go and see your medical provider for your PrEP, they're not only going to test you for obviously HIV and all, gonorrhea, chlamydia, herpes, and all STIs and STDs. They're also going to do a complete metabolic, a complete blood count and a complete metabolic panel. And basically those are 2 blood tests that they do to check your kidneys, your livers, your blood. They check everything. And if the doctor suspects that there is something that's not right, they'll be responsible enough to say, I think it's time to come off of it before any effects happen. It's not like you're going to take it and then in 2 days your kidneys are going to shut down. They draw bloods the first time. They develop what's called a baseline as to what your numbers look like at that current moment. And then if anything fluctuates from there, that's what they use to determine, okay, let's stop. And then you should go back to normal and everything should stabilize.
And I think also it's important that, like Xavier was saying, your medical provider is always there to care for your safety and your well-being, right? So it's important to ask those questions to your medical provider that you kind of want to know and have uncertainty with, but I'm sure your doctor, I want to say, right? As a mental health provider myself, we're not going to do anything to harm the client or the patient. Instead, where it's going to be to help them out. So, I'm sure the doctor is not going to recommend anything that they're not sure or certain that it may work or it will harm you. But I think these tests like that, these blood tests regularly, is what's going to determine whether you are a good candidate, whether you could stay on it, or whether it's not working for you, and then see other options. But I do want to talk about something, Xavier, about this. It's not part of the question, but I also want to touch up on, because, you and I both know that there's a huge lack of education in our community when it comes to PrEP and when it comes to HIV and so forth and so on, right? That's what we love to touch up on this, and we love that question because gives us the opportunity to get out there and talk about it. PrEP is not, right, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know more about this than I do. It is not something that you take and for you to go out there and have careless sex. You know, no protection or no anything, because you think you're on PrEP now, you can go and have a party out there. It is not for that cause, because it does not protect you against other STIs. Am I correct?
That is absolutely correct. PrEP is only to keep you safe, or it reduces, let's say that, it reduces the risk of getting HIV or getting infected with HIV. It's important also to understand, like Ray said, you know, it does not substitute the use of condoms.
Correct.
It does not substitute the use of safe sex practices.
Correct.
Like dental dams. We do still encourage you to use condoms, but it is an extra layer of protection that you have. It is also not the morning after pill, so it's not a situation where you're going to have sex tonight with a person who you know or suspect is positive for HIV, and then you're going to take it next morning, and then you're just going to forget about it the rest of the month. In order for PrEP to work, it needs to be taken on a daily basis. So you have to take the medication every single day, because the medication does not last in your body for a long period of time. So you need to take the medication every day. And once you have become infected with HIV, there's no point in taking it, because at that point we need to do some other tests and see what other options in terms of treatment are available.
I think that the most important thing about this is, and I want to say that Xavier and I had a discussion about this a couple of weeks ago about PrEP and everything else, and just sitting with him and talking about it, I learned so much that I didn't know. All it takes is asking, right? Being curious, going out to your medical practitioner and talking about it. Hey, I want to know more about this. What is it? And you know what? I mean, I know we surf the web for so many different things. So it's also being proactive and also searching what Truvada or this other medication does. How does it work on your system? What can I do to protect myself and protect my partner or anybody else, right? Is what I call being responsible, right? I always like to use this. My clients are probably tired of hearing me saying this, but you can only control what you do. You cannot control what others do. So when it comes to this, it's about yourself. It's not about anybody else. It's how do you protect yourself, right? From either take or coming into you, or you, if you are infected, spreading it out, right? So that's the important thing.
And it's also important, I want to disclose everybody's body is completely different.
Yes.
So just because what we typically see in the clinic is the nausea and the gastric upset, it does not mean that that's the way your body's going to respond to it. Some people might not have any issues or side effects whatsoever, and then other people might have more serious side effects. So sit down, have a conversation with your medical provider.
Yes.
They are there for that. These people who are trained to prescribe PrEP have the knowledge that to do this. They do this on a daily basis. Don't be afraid of asking them questions. Sure. There's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to your health.
That's exactly
especially your sexual health.
Yes.
So the other question was
how expensive?
How expensive it is. It is expensive. The range of the medication, if you were going to pay for it out of pocket, I believe, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but it's like around $2,000 for a 30-day supply. Now, does this mean that you have to come up with $2,000? No. Insurance companies do pay for it, most of them. Obviously, you need to check that out when you go to your medical provider. But my experience has been that most insurance companies will pay for your PrEP medication. Now, there's still going to be a copay that is attached to that. Gilead, the pharmaceutical company, has, and by the way, they're not sponsors, but That's a pharmaceutical company. They do have a patient assistance program to help people with their co-pays. For people who are uninsured, Mecklenburg County, I don't know. I don't think Gaston County or any other of the surrounding counties has it, but Mecklenburg County covers, I think, the 5 surrounding counties in Mecklenburg. They have a PrEP pilot program, and there are a few clinics that belong to that PrEP pilot. And basically, these are federal funds that are there to help people get on PrEP. They do, with these funds, they pay your doctor's visits. So this means that every time you go into the doctor to do all these lab tests and to get all these STI checks and things like that, you will not pay for that. And then Gilead also has the patient assistance programs for uninsured, where they will cover the full cost of the medication. Yes, now, the best way, exactly, there is no excuse. So the best way you can know about this is to go to the medical provider. I have disclosed before, I work full-time for C.W. Williams Community Health Center in Charlotte, and we are one of the PrEP pilot providers. So if you want to go and get tested and get on PrEP, you can come and visit us. We're on Wilkinson Boulevard, C.W. Williams. You can look us up, look them up on Facebook as well, and just come in and we can have this conversation. We have a wonderful team of people, from Mr. Ta, who is our provider, our PrEP provider, Katrina Boyette, who is our medical case manager, Kevin Compton, who is our outreach specialist, and I, from the behavioral health side, kind of always support all of our PrEP HIV patients. So yeah, come on out, get tested. If you are in a situation where you suspect that the person that you are with has been infected, is always the best. The best thing to always do is go out and get tested. We always recommend everyone gets tested every 3 months if you're not in a monogamous relationship. If you are in a monogamous relationship, just get tested with your annual physical. And just make sure you know and stay healthy and have these conversations with your partner or your sexual partners, if that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that that while we have these resources available, that we take advantage of it in a good way, right? In a positive way. We're talking about your health. We're talking about a life and death situation. Just like this whole situation about coronavirus, right? So while we have that available, to exercise that, right? As taxpayers that we are, to exercise that right to go and use, these fundings that are available so that your health is in check. I wanted to also say that, and we've told our friends out there that we, one of the things that we're doing as as an organization out there is we go and visit the different bars in town. And I know specifically Scorpio, does HIV testing on site.
Yes.
Once Friday a month? Or
one Friday a month. I think right now we're getting ready to post a flyer where it'll have a QR code. And for those of you who have iPhone, your iPhone camera will read it automatically. It'll generate a text message to our outreach specialist, and they'll reach back out to you. And the text just says, hey, I want to get tested. Yes. And then they'll reach out to you. And this is done in confidence. The tests are free, people. There is no excuse. HIV testing currently is free. You don't have to pay anything for it. We'll do HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis A, and hepatitis A and C. And correct me, I'm sorry if I get that wrong, but HIV specifically is free. All you have to do is walk into the clinic. They'll draw blood. Tests take 24 to 48 hours to come back to us. It's not a 2-week waiting process anymore. We actually have a finger stick test right now, which is one of the best ones in the market. It has a sensitivity of 98.6%.
That's the one
which is really high.
Yeah.
and it's a 15 to 20-minute process. Stick your finger, get a drop of blood, put the test to run, and it'll tell us between 15 and 20 minutes if you are, reactive. We don't want to say positive when we talk about finger pricking because, it's not a confirmation test. It's also very important to understand that all these tests, whether it be blood or finger prick or what we call rapid tests, they only, as the closest that we've gotten to the point of infection is 3 weeks. So if you had sex today and you suspect that the person you had sex with today you suspect they're positive for HIV, you really won't know the results, or the results are not going to be accurate until at least 3 weeks post-exposure. So remain calm, reach out to your provider, have a conversation. We're here to help.
Yeah, and if you guys need any support, again, that's what we're here for. Any more questions, please, call us, or you can also email us at info@pricesupportservices.org. We'd love to talk to you and chat more about this. We do have one more question before we finish today, our session, and it's, can I donate blood if I have HPV? So again, we're not medical practitioners, but what we did was I went into the Red Cross organization's website and I looked into this, and according to the Red Cross, a person who has been diagnosed with HPV can donate blood if they are feeling healthy and well and meet all the other requirements by the Red Cross. Again, you need to educate yourself. You need to call in and ask those kind of questions to them. But the good news is that even if you have been diagnosed positive with HPV, you can still donate. So as long as you are, again, healthy and well, as described by them, and also follow the other requirements by them.
And two things that brings me to is, for those of you that don't know, HPV is human papillomavirus. And like I said, we're, like Ray discussed and I discussed, we're not medical professionals. You can donate blood according to the Red Cross. But unfortunately, we as gay men cannot donate blood if we disclose that we're openly gay. That is something that a lot of people have tried to bring to legislature. They will not tell you not to give the blood, but they'll most likely not use it for donation. That is something that is unfortunate. It's something that is sad. It's actually disgusting. But I think it is up to us. And I think this is part of why Pride Support Services exist. It is our job in general as a community to legislate for these things. It is. Yes. I know we don't like to talk about politics because it always brings some sort of discord, but this is why, unfortunately, politics is infiltrated in everything we do. We have to stand up. We have to make our voices be heard.
Exercise the right to vote.
And in order for that to happen, we need to go out there and vote. Unfortunately, it is up to those people sitting on those desks, earning a salary and getting fed and getting mileage, that things like this go about without anyone caring. So we need to raise our voice. We need to go out there and vote. We need to make sure that we are able to legislate. So things like
support. This is an important thing. It's being able to support whenever, for example, whenever our community is doing events such as, whether it's fundraising events or whether it's educational events, go out and support our community, support those organizations, the LGBTQ plus organizations that are in our community. Please support them. Go out there and raise your voice. It's important. Everything that everybody, I know we talked about this in group, everything that those people who fought so hard to bring us to this point where we are now needs to continue, not only for us, but for those who will come after us. So I think that is all the questions for today. This is all of our session. I don't know if there's anything else that you're reading.
Well, I'm just looking here. Hi to all the people that are watching, and I see Scott there and Chris and Dimas. Thank you for watching us. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate your support. So please continue to support us. Please continue to follow us on Facebook. Share our page. Share this live with everyone that you know. And we're here for all of you. Like I always say, we are nothing without you.
Yeah, important. Follow our, I know we can't do any contact activities right now. We need to kind of stay away. But we're going to be doing this a lot, putting videos up, live streams and stuff. So just continue to support us. Stay with us. As soon as this passes, then we'll go back to the way that we're doing things. But, your contribution and how you can help us is what you say is just when you see a posting, share it with your friends, share it, so as long as you're okay in doing that in your page, just share it, talk about us, talk about, what we're about and what we're doing. And that's the best way that you can support us at this time. But thank you so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate every question. We hope that we were able to serve and answer, provide the answers that you guys needed tonight. We love you. We care for you. And we hope to talk to you guys soon.
We'll be doing more of these. So stay tuned. If you have any more questions,
send them in.
Send them in.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
You guys have a good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.